Welcome in. What's up, everyone? On a Friday? Y'all are with us on a Friday? Hi, Amy. Let's see who else do I see in here. Y'all know y'all are in for a show. We're here on a Friday. We're about to have a good time, everyone. Look, I need to see if I see any familiar faces going on in here. Yep, there we go, like clockwork. The OG street team. What's up, Christina? How are you? I don't know if I see Jessica here. We got Rachel in the building, Leslie in the building. How y'all doing today?
I'm excited. I'm doing great. This is going to be a really nice topic to start off the weekend, and yeah, I'm excited. What about you, Leslie?
I'm also excited. This is our very first official PD under since we've had our NASPA approval. So welcome everybody.
And you know what? I have to shout out Rachel and Leslie. Um, I had no parts in this. I just show up. Uh, but this is the PD Dream Team, and it started years ago, honestly, with some of the PDs that Rachel had helped organize. Let us know if anyone has been to any of those PDs. We got some summer PDs. We made history with the first halftime performance during a PD ever. But we set the foundation, and then Leslie came in, and because of the foundation from Rachel, Leslie was able to help us go through and navigate the entire NASP approval process, and it was fairly smooth for us. And we wanted to make sure. So shout out to Rachel, shout out to Leslie. We wanted to make sure that we went through that so that we can make sure that we're providing high quality CPDs to you all, and making sure that you all have an opportunity to also have fun during these professional development opportunities along the way. But it's imperative that we provide high quality professional development opportunities along the way. All right. Rachel, Leslie, I don't know if I'm stealing you all's thunder, but did we drop inside the chat where people are from? On like where are people coming in from on a Friday afternoon? Rachel, Leslie, I keep
I do
y'all
see
out.
one of my Hawaii people on, Byron, so I'm like, hey, Hawaii people. Hey, I used to work in Hawaii for quite a many years, so yeah.
All right, very good. Rachel, do you want to pull up the slides and we could get rolling? We're
Yeah.
here for a short time, but we're gonna make it a good time. And I think I did jump ahead, my bad.
No, let's do it. All right. Let's do.
Nice. I saw you at ATL in the building. What's up, Atlanta? Atlanta Public Schools is one of our partners here at School Psych AI. I see Denton, Ohio. Rachel, we got some of your people from Missouri, Austin, Texas, Chicago, Nebraska, Omaha, Kimberly. What's up with some steaks? Come on now.
Brazil, Byron, we got someone from Brazil.
Nice. Nice, nice, nice. Who is that from Brazil?
Stephanie Smith.
Hi, Stephanie. All right. Hi. So we got PG County. That is home. Shout out to the work happening there in PG County as well. All right. Rachel?
All right. All right, we're gonna get started. I'm really excited to be collaborating with Dr. McClure again for some PD. This is gonna be really fun, and of course Leslie. I'm excited that we get some together time too. So we're gonna jump in. We've got a lot to cover in 90 minutes, but it's gonna be really good. So we kind of already started, but tell us where you're joining from. I am so jealous from hearing everyone that is in a sunny place. I'm in Missouri, and January in Missouri can be it can fluctuate for sure, but it is cold this week. So I'm definitely jealous of the sun and even our palm tree that we got going on with one of our participants here. You all know Dr. McClure, right? School psych celebrity. I'm Rachel. I'm a school psych in Missouri. I've been a practitioner. I'm now in a more non-traditional role, doing more MTSS work. So learning that process, but yeah, I'll be able to speak to how we've kind of woven in strength-based practices where I've been in Missouri, my small corner of Missouri. And then Leslie, she's wonderful. You've school psyched how many different places, Leslie?
I started in New York, went to Hawaii, and then Colorado, and now I'm back in Washington State. Yeah, so 4 states.
So between between all the presenters today, we've got a lot of ground that we've covered. So all right, so everyone wants to know how we're going to participate, what today's going to look like, and how you get those CPDs. Like they said, NASP approved provider, which is amazing. You can now use this as category A instead of H. That's what we've been doing so far, but officially category A, which is awesome. We want to make this as interactive as possible, so use the chat. Plus, we're going to do a giveaway later, so you want to be in the chat as often as possible. We are recording, so for anyone who wasn't able to join live with us, they'll be able to watch the replay. So you would be able to participate. And if you're watching, I'm gonna time travel. If you're watching the replay now, thank you for watching the replay, and we're excited to get started. All right, so our learning objectives, these are important, but we're going to get into the good stuff here. But we want to identify common deficit-based practices, and then we want to move to those strength-based frameworks, and specifically the strategies. And there's so many that we've included, so I'm excited to get into those and things that you can actually implement as practitioners, as school psychologists, things that are ready to use. You can go next week and start implementing some of these things, even if it's just 1% better towards that strength-based practice. We've got some really good ideas to share with you. All right, and I'm going to pass it over to Byron.
Excellent. Thank you, Rachel. Again, shout out to Rachel, to Leslie, and importantly, shout out to everyone who is here live and also watching the recording for wanting to better understand what are some practices that we can implement that can help us actually move the needle for the young people that we work with. Um, I'm curious, how many of you, shout out to those who are here live with us. I'm curious, how many of you fell into the field of school psychology? If that's you, put a little emoji raising your hand inside the chat. I see Leslie raising her hand. I stumbled across a tumbleweed into the field of school psychology. And you were like, Byron, you stumbled across a tumbleweed. What do you mean? Um, I finished undergrad at the best HBCU, Hampton University, and my grades weren't that great. My GRE was not that great, and so I applied to one school. I was going to go all the way out to California. That didn't pan out. And then it honestly was a Hail Mary. My dad had a connection in West Texas at Abilene Christian University. I was able to get in like 2 weeks before the semester started, and I got into the clinical psychology program. I have an identical twin brother. My identical twin and I drove we were in Hampton, Virginia at the time, all the way to West Texas and Abilene Christian. And you might have heard me share this story. When we crossed the Texarkana line, there was a tumbleweed. I had never seen a tumbleweed before. I thought it was something only in the Looney Tune cartoons. Y'all know when Bugs Bunny goes out to, shout out to our New Mexico folks. He says, I think I made a wrong turn at Albuquerque. Anyway, some of y'all know that. Some of y'all are OGs like me in the game. But anyways, I saw a tumbleweed for the first time. I make it out to West Texas. I start this clinical psychology program, and it was a heavy emphasis on a medical diagnosis, the medical model, and looking at identifying the absolute worst in people. That never resonated with me because we know there's something going on. I care about what are we going to do about it. We end up doing this assignment. We had to really dive into the who, what, where, why about the field, how we will practice all of those things. Looking at this field, there was a big stigma, even more so back then, around mental health, around psychology, and the practice of it. And I left out of that class like I won't be able to practice with the demographic that I want to work with, which was the African American community, with individuals from historically marginalized community, low income, high poverty communities, and people who look like me weren't actively seeking out counseling. And I'm like, what am I doing out here with tumbleweeds? It's hot all the time in West Texas. I won't be able to do what I want. We're focused on the worst in people. And in that moment, and I shout her out all the time, this lady came up to me and she saw me in my moment of stress and panic of like, what am I doing out here? I was away from my twin for the first time. I was like having an existential crisis. And she comes up and I joke and say, have y'all ever met people who you just pour your heart out to? Well, that was this lady. And I tell her all my problems, and I'm out here and I saw a tumbleweed for the first time. And she stopped and she says, it's easier to build strong children than to repair broken men. And in that moment, it's like, man, why is this lady quoting Frederick Douglass out here in West Texas? Like, I'm really losing it now, Rachel. But it shifted my perspective of things. Come to find out, this was the director. Come on now, y'all not listening. Come closer. It was the director of the school psychology program. And what she shared in that moment was fundamental to how I would then practice. By looking at pro- proactive preventative measures, by implementing asset-based tools and resources and supports, it's easier to work with people and to build these assets in at a younger age than fighting that medical model into adulthood. I got up and I went to her office and I switched from clinical psychology to school psychology. Come on now. This is where you start shouting, y'all. Listen, I became a school psychologist, well, a grad student, in that moment, y'all. And what Dr. Shoemaker, shout out to Dr. Jennifer Shoemaker, um, and also Dr. Ting, who's also doing some awesome work there at ACU as well. I switched, started practicing, and then I was able to go back up, next slide, Rachel, up to the DMV, which is where I'm from. And I took this philosophy with me. And that focus was on how do we equip our young people at an early age, utilizing proactive measures to improve outcomes for the young people that we work with. And I want to be very clear as we kick off this focus on strength-based practices. I went to an area to where if you go into these schools and you say, hey, just focus on the good. Hey, ignore all the things happening in your community. If you only talk about language, like I could be doing harm in that community. And so what I'm talking about is gritty, it's rough, it's real, it's raw, it's authentic. It's looking at the skills and assets that our young people already have. And so when I went back to the DMV, I worked at an elementary and a middle school that was high needs, high poverty community for young people who look like me. I began by working with a group of boys at the elementary school and a group of boys at the middle school with intense emotional disabilities. Y'all, they were tearing the school up. Like we can be honest, like it's okay to say that. They were tearing the school up. That's a very real thing. We're not sugarcoating nothing here. All right. And so essentially there was like, hey, if you want to work with those kids, have at it. This young guy coming up here, all this enthusiasm, good luck fixing those kids. We'll come back to that here shortly. But I went in with the premise of what Dr. Shoemaker and shout out to what Frederick Douglass has said. That it's easier, y'all. Come on now, to do this work if we focus on building strong children than to repair broken men. And so I went in at the elementary school and the middle school with the focus on helping our young people to identify their assets by looking at how might we set goals and then not just reach them because we're not on that for 2026. I've never been on that. We are crushing our goals with a purpose, with an intensity, with a laser focus, y'all. Y'all hear what I'm saying? Like, this is how we had to approach this work, okay? We had to provide explicit skill development. At that time, we were focused on, let me know, I don't know if there was anyone in here, Leslie, from Oregon, but we used the Strong Kids curriculum at that time. I love the Strong Kids curriculum. Shout out to the work out of University of Oregon and the late Dr. Kim Murrow. But we had to provide explicit skill development. Why? Because our kids didn't have those skills. I didn't sugarcoat it. It was like, oh, this is some other name, or uh, we'll focus only on those things. Nah, y'all tripping. And we're missing these skills. We need skills in conflict resolution. We need to make better decisions. We need to be able to make responsible. We need social intelligence and self-awareness and all of these things. And guess what else? We have to focus on the academic and behavioral supports. We were explicit in that. And we looked at how can we help in the areas of growth over time. Next slide, please. Let's keep rolling. And so at the elementary school and the middle school, we focused on those. And importantly, we put in the work, y'all. Put yes in the chat if you are here to put in the work. I want to tell you all that being strength-based means you are action-oriented. You are taking action. You are not sitting by passively. You are not hoping. You are not wishing. You are not sugarcoating things. You are moving towards action to do things and get stuff done. In 2026, y'all, we don't have time to sit by and waste. Listen, the strength-based philosophy that I'm talking about, it's not passive. It's not nice. I don't know what y'all thought y'all was going to get hopping on this call. It's radical. It requires you to put in the work. And what you see on the slide, out there with the young boys who they said won't be successful, those kids from that community, those boys who can only tear stuff up. And you see my man's shirt? We went beast mode, changing the narrative by putting in the work, by naming, knowing their strengths, by making it culturally relevant and responsive. While we were utilizing the Strong Kids curriculum, it was great. I loved it. It wasn't translating from our small group out into the classroom. They'd be great. With me, like Dr. McClure, hey, this is great. I'm about to go punch this teacher in the face. I know this is real life stuff. Like, dude, hey, man, we just talked about decision making. So how can we get it to translate? Okay, we have to modify and adapt this curriculum. And so what we ended up doing was shifting to bringing in video-based lessons. We were doing like ESPN 30 for 30, watching folks like Marshawn Lynch and LeBron James and athletes because they all thought they were going to the NFL. Hey, you have to have the grades, you have to have the skills, you have to set ambitious goals, and you have to have a focus on your academics. That's why you're here. Here's how we're going to go about doing it. Rachel, can you go back one slide, please? What we did, we operationalized this process. If you see on my left, the boys, they're holding up notebooks. In that, we operationalized everything that I'm saying to where week by week, it was a playbook. The first thing, and we're going to go through this today, all the young boys, they identified their strengths. We utilized the values and action survey, the VIA survey. We're going to talk about that here in a bit. Once they took that survey, they got the results. They named it, their top 5 strengths. Line 1, line 2, line 3, line 4, line 5, put your name, and they named their strengths. Every session, we talked about it. We did some exploration activities. Then the next page after that, it was goals. What are your goals for the year? Academic, behavior. And then we have behavior sheets, right, connected to their goals. And then we pulled in discipline data, looking at, hey, y'all as a collective, y'all have like 35 office discipline referrals for 10 classroom. All right. How can we reduce that? Now we're making growth over time. And so again, this isn't wishful thinking. This isn't wishful thinking. It's utilizing our full skill set as practitioners. Come on now. That's how we're connecting artificial intelligence. That's to come. We have to have the bandwidth to expand our scope of practice to do these things. Next slide, Rachel. Let's keep rolling. And so we were able, by putting in the work, in some other presentations I've done, you've seen where I shared some of the outcomes for the boys at the elementary and the middle school. Many of those boys were able to find success, what success looked like for them. One student in particular got a full-ride scholarship to Bowie State, where my PG County folks at. Not an athletic scholarship, he did get that, an academic scholarship. So what we are talking about here is when you see the worst, when you believe that the worst of people are innate inside of them, it's a blurry lens of what's possible for our young people. And the work that we did that took work was changing that lens and shifting to what's strong and what's possible. To say that Black boys from a Southeast DC, from a Southern Maryland, from Oakland, from Wisconsin, from anywhere, when we focus on these skills and these assets, they can find their version of success. Even boys, girls, whoever with emotional disabilities can make it to school, can make it to college, can make it to trades and find their version of success. After that work on the Maryland side, I transitioned to DC. That was a trip. Let me know if there's anybody here. I know Denise normally hops on. Let me know if it's any of my folks here from DC public schools. I went to Southeast DC. And if you're watching the news, y'all know it's a lot of things happening in DC. Those are a lot of the areas where, it's home, where I grew up on the PG County side, where I worked, and it's young people who I've worked with. Going in there, I took the same philosophy, the same approach, identifying assets, developing goals, all of those things that you all just saw on the previous slide. And then we looked at how might we implement this with adults first, okay? Here's what I've learned along the way. Yo, the kids are gonna be all right. The kids are gonna be cool. And we'll get to practices of how we can work with our young people. But boy, us, we're a trip. And so what myself and our team did, we came in and we started with professional developments to equip adults with strength-based tools. One of the things that you see here, we have social workers, we have psychologists here pictured, we have some teachers, and that same process of that notebook that you saw before, naming your strengths, knowing your strengths, and then understanding your strengths as well is something that we actively work through, starting with a small pilot, and then we expand it up. Same process. And some of these activities, some of these practices, you all will have an opportunity to work through today. Next slide, please. All right. In that work at the in DC, I talked earlier, we used the VIA as a strength-based measure. At the high school and for the adults, we use a measure called the Clifton Strength Finders. And Clifton comes from Donald Clifton. And he posed this question. He says, what will happen when we, as adults, think about what's right with people rather than fixating on what's wrong with them? And I take this a step further. When we think about what's strong with people rather than fixating on what's wrong with them. Here's a little insight. Oftentimes, we already know there's something going on. But how might we identify assets, resources, support, set ambitious goals so that we can bring balance to what we're doing? Let's keep rolling. Now, what I want us to start shifting into are two important things for you to know. If you're taking notes, write this down. It's two, in this context, types of thinking I want us to focus on. I want us to shift into understanding deficit thinking, and I want us to understand strength-based thinking. Now, at the core of deficit thinking and strength-based thinking, they're asking questions. Each one is asking a very important question. Number one, deficit thinking is asking, What's wrong here? What's the problem? Here's what I'm saying. Let's start here. Here's what I'm not saying. I am not saying to ignore weaknesses. Come closer. Rachel, are we hitting record? Make sure recording is here. Here's what I'm saying. We are not ignoring weaknesses. We are not ignoring challenges. Are y'all with me? Let me slide my screen because this crew who's on my camera, I can't see no energy or love right now. Listen, okay, here we go. We are not ignoring challenges, deficits, weakness. They exist. Okay? Here's what's important. We've been hyper focused on that. Like I just said, yeah, we know there's something going on. How can we move to action to improve the outcomes? Strength-based thinking is also asking a question. Here's the question that is asking: what's strong here? Importantly, what are we going to do about it? One of the reasons why I've been able to find success in a lot of the things that I do, and also a lot of trouble, is because I just take action. All right. And I'm constantly asking, hey, what's strong here? And then what can we do about it? And guess what? You go and do it. Okay. Again, I want to stress and overemphasize strength-based thinking. We're not here to be overly nice. Shout out to Dr. Martin Seligman, who is considered to be one of the founders of positive psychology, where strength-based thinking really, it originated before that, but has roots, okay? And here's what Martin Seligman says. He wrote the book. Let me know if anyone has read the book, Authentic Happiness. Here's what he says. I am mad that I put that book out. I'm paraphrasing. But he says, people call me the happiness guy. And he describes himself on a podcast or interview I was listening to. He's like, I'm a grumpy old man. Paraphrasing what he says. I'm a scientist. I don't care about your feelings, but yet I've become the happiness guy. Byron, what are you saying? Again, if we're not careful, we will remove the science, we'll remove the evidence, and it'll become this thing of hyper focusing on feelings and toxic positivity. So we have to focus on what works. Because the youth and young people that I work with don't have time to waste. And if we go in there talking about, hey man, just think positive, just focus on your strengths, man, they would have ran me up out of them places where I work. Y'all hear what I'm saying? So what Seligman said, how can we study this and bring in evidence? How can we bring in science into what we're doing? And we'll talk about one of those practices here in a bit. Let's keep rocking and rolling for the sake of time. Now, I'm jumping to the chat as well. All right. I'm noting that, Ed, can you send that to Rachel for me, please, about this being full? And I noticed that we're at 100 participants. So Rachel, maybe while I'm sitting here talking, if you need to upgrade, I don't know which account we have, but it should be the other account. So let's make sure that we have that going. All right. Now, let's keep rocking and rolling for the sake of time. Rachel, you're going to be multitasking because you're going to be fixing that. And I'm going to roll through this next part so we can actually get to the practices. You might be saying, Byron, what is deficit thinking? Rachel, can you go to the slide with at the IEP meeting? Here's what I need you to know about deficit thinking. It's a distorted lens, y'all. It's a lens that's faulty, that's not 100% accurate. Unfortunately, that lens has become the default way that many people see the world around them, right? Rachel, if you go to, if it's slide 17, POV IEP meeting, if you can go to that slide for me. Okay. And this default lens becomes the way how we interact in our relationships. It becomes the default way how we interact with our loved ones. it becomes the default way of how we practice as practitioners. I don't think it's any fault of any one person. I think that now a lot of it comes from how we've all been trained and conditioned to practice. I started out as a clinical psychologist. That's how we were trained, even in the field of school psychology. Now, one of the very first IEP meetings where I was, and you all have heard me share this story before, every person, and this was one of those big meetings that went around the room. It was dagger after dagger after dagger to that mom who has hopes and dreams and ambitions for her child. And it's every person operating from that deficit lens of what's wrong, of clinically significant across all areas, will never be able to, oh, he's just slow. How often do we hear that? Or that kid's lazy, he's not motivated. Again, I am not saying that we ignore the very real things. What I am saying is that this default lens of deficit thinking, we hyper focus on that, where that is the only thing that we can see. And what I am saying is that we must be able to see a holistic picture and not only ask what's wrong, we must also take a look at what's strong as well. All right, Rachel, let's keep rolling here. If we could go to the understanding strength-based thinking and just go to that definition for me. Now, if that's deficit thinking, what does strength-based thinking? In that same IEP meeting, a focus of mine was taking that 30, 45-page psychological evaluation and ripping it up. Metaphorically, of course, because y'all know we write long evaluations, and that was a lengthy one that I wrote. I'm not ripping that up. But I had to metaphorically move it, well, reality, move it to the side and talk to that parent. Hey, yes, your son has all of these challenges and things that's going on here, and also has an amazing sense of humor, wants to please. The kids flock to him and look up to him, and he's great at building relationships and speaking from a place of perspective, of balance. And again, the strength-based thinking is asking a simple question: what's strong here? And so in this definition, I define strength-based thinking here as we define strength-based thinking. We start by looking at what a person can do. All right, so it's different starting points. What's already working here? And then being able from there to use that as a foundation to build upon that. All right. To use those skills and assets and goals and resources and social capital to work through those challenges and ultimately improve PERMA. Drop in the chat if you know what PERMA is. If you don't, I'm going to tell you quickly it's a model of well being. We're practitioners, so we care about improving the well being. And Seligman and his colleagues put forth this model of well being that focus on positive emotion, engagement, relationship skills, meaning. And Seligman later evolved that meaning work into mattering. And he has a really good book on mattering and then accomplishment. And if we have those 5 elements that make up PERMA, we'll have a strong sense of well being in the work that we do. Importantly, this strength-based philosophy and these strength-based practices are the foundational elements to this PERMA model of well-being. In addition to the strength-based philosophy, another key aspect of it is setting goals. That's why with the students at the elementary, the middle, and the high school, and even with the adults that I've worked with, goal setting is a very big aspect of this work as well. Okay, let's keep rocking and rolling. I'm going to try to look at the chat to see if there's any pressing questions or anything coming through. But Rachel, I would love for you to jump to slide 27 for us real quick, okay? Now, I've been doing this strength based. This is just how I practice, y'all. in the past 2 or 3 years, because it's emerging, and especially when I'm traveling and speaking on these topics, I have a lot of really good and honest conversations. And part of it, there's critiques that comes with this work. Okay. And that's fair. Some of the critiques that come with this, I think it's important to address. And I want to just take a few moments to walk through some of the critiques of strength based practices. So let's keep rolling, Rachel. Now, some of the critiques that we get, I think it stems from a lack of understanding. And that's okay because we're that's what we're here for. And I came up with this because I think it really resonates and it's pretty important. To me, changing words without changing practice, it keeps deficit thinking intact. You can use the right terminology and still make the same decisions and tell the same incomplete stories about students. I want you to think about that. I want you to write 1 to 2 sentences of what this quote means to you, how it shows up in your practice, how you see it in your schools, and just drop that inside of the chat. Over the past few years, I want to stress that if we address this work, if we approach this work from a superficial lens, we're going to get it wrong. And I believe that we'll do more harm than good in the name of being strength based. Come on now. Flip that up and let's put that on social media. So my oldest son and daughter, they be watching like these guys like Kai Cenat and streamers. They're like, let's put some fire emojis. Come on, chat. Like, and so I just randomly use some of those words. And then there's another one like put that out. That sounded good coming out, Leslie. All right. So I'm going to pause here and jump to the chat. Okay. Let me see if there's anything coming through here. All right. Leslie, help me out in the chat. Anything good coming through you want to talk about real quick?
Yeah, Lisa V. I don't know where you're from, Lisa V, but whoa. Sorry, it jumped. Changing words without changing practice is like an apology without changed behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Words don't mean
That's
much
good.
without action. Change takes immediate action from Terma. Margaret says schools
Nice.
try new plans, programs, policies, and it's just new words for the same practices, or they really don't implement changes with that fidelity.
Yeah, that's the danger to me is that we can shift our language all day in the paint, but do the actions change? Listen, we know who is more likely to be referred to special education. Y'all already know the answer. Who is more likely to receive discipline referrals? Y'all already know the answer. Who is struggling to make academic gains? We already know the answer. We know the problems, yet they continue to persist. I am not in the business of sitting by idly and watching the same problems continue to persist year after year. It's not what this is about. And if we're not careful, we'll shift our language and the actions won't change. That's the core of what we're talking about here. Let's keep rolling, Rachel. Come on now. Let's go. Let's go, Rachel. All right. Here's what strength based thinking is not. It's not toxic positivity. It's not that. It's acknowledging, hey, Miss B, your kid tore that classroom up, and we're going to repair that harm that has been caused. And I also recognize that this has been very difficult for you. So here's some resources and supports that we can look at putting in place. Did y'all see what we did there? We acknowledged the challenge, and we also balanced it by looking at what we're going to do about it. Strength-based thinking is not a replacement for therapeutic intervention. One of the things that I shared earlier, my dad had a connect. My dad is a minister, and that's why I was able to get into Abilene Christian University. And I kind of alluded to the stigma, especially in the Black community. Not only is there a stigma in the Black community and many other marginalized communities, there's also a stigma about mental health in religious sectors as well. And many people will say, oh, in my community, I'll speak for myself, I'll just go to church and pray it away. It's like, nah, like I'm really hurting here. Like I really need support. I really need some intensive therapeutic supports. If we're not careful, we'll say, hey, just go set some goals and you'll be good. I told y'all with the kids that I work with, we had small group, we had one-to-one written in their IEP, 30 minutes twice weekly. I was working, y'all. And then we had some after school stuff, academic groups, behavior skill groups, and we still partner with outside clinicians as well. Being strength-based is not a substitute for deep therapeutic work. Let's keep rolling. Oh, come on now. Listen, Leslie, that's what you got to help me out here. Melinda says kids sniff out fake and disingenuous staff quickly. So the way we think about kids shows in our actions while we are working with them. Absolutely, absolutely. Strength-based thinking is not blind faith and optimism. Shout out to Dr. Mara Solomon again. There's a ton of research around these practices, and we're going to shift to that here shortly as well. But this stuff is evidence, it's grounded in what works as well. Okay. Here's what I'm saying, y'all. If you hyper focus on deficit thinking, doesn't help anyone. If you hyper focus on strength based thinking, it's toxic positivity, doesn't help anyone. It's about balance. I think this is a great slide. Yes, I used AI to generate this. Y'all know those guys who go to the gym and it's arm day every day. It's never leg day. That's the danger with hyper focusing on one area over the area. So it's about balance. Okay. We must be balanced in our approach to create a holistic picture of the young people that we work with. Rachel, Leslie, anything you all want to add here? All right. Hey, let's keep going. All right, now let's get into y'all are going to get access to all the slides. Again, this will be available via recording. I really like this slide because it goes through misconceptions of strength-based practices and the reality as well. So please take time to read through. I think this is an exceptional slide. I encourage you all to take time to read through. Let's keep rolling because I want to shift into the practices. All right. Are there any questions coming through the chat that we need to address? Otherwise, Rachel, Leslie, anything you all want to add before we get into the practices?
No official questions, just a lot of the comments and agreement and seeing the same things in practice year after year, those kinds of,
Yeah, it sounds like everybody's ready for these practices so we can go do the work.
All right, let's get to it. All right, practice number one. Practice. You talking about practice? Yeah, let's talk about strength-based practices. I know that was a bit much. That was cheesy. That was a bit cheesy. Okay. Strength-based practice number one starts with you and understanding your strengths. Okay. Rachel, this is a great opportunity to walk through completing the survey. Um,
Yeah, so on this slide, is it showing up now, this QR code? Okay, perfect. So yeah, being able to recognize our own strengths is a really good starting point. And so we wanted to link to the VIA character strengths survey. And even if you can't take it in real time, because that would be multitasking, right? But we did include all 24 character strengths on the next few slides. And I also put in Byron's and mine, and I'm sure you'll be able to tell us apart based on what our strengths are. But it's a really great way, even if you don't officially take it, like take it later, it's really good. But just visually scan through some of these different character strengths, and they're categorized by these different areas too. So just kind of visually scan, think about 3 to 5 that really resonate with you, what you identify as your strengths. And I'm gonna, while you're looking at these words, I'm gonna highlight these words, and I want you to guess if these are my strengths or Byron's strengths. And you put that in the chat if you want to take a guess on that. There's one word in particular that does not describe me. And then the other set of character strengths. Yeah, everybody gets
Y'all
it.
are funny.
It's the zest. It's the zest, Byron. Everybody knows. But you can see like the different sections. For me, love of learning shows up every time I take this, and I've taken it a few times because we change over time, right? And so I'm kind of like progress monitoring what my strengths look like, but every time love of learning comes up, so I'm that's something that really resonates with me. But
Y'all
yeah,
are
just
funny in the chat.
oh my gosh, thanks, Leslie. Um, all right, so think about those strengths, and I want you all to pick one that you're willing to share, but just drop it. Like, let's celebrate our strengths, and see if we have some things in common. Usually, school psychs have some overlap in our strengths because that's why we chose the field.
And I saw one comment come through. They're moving quickly. I think it's Lisa. I love this. It was something about balance between Rachel's strengths and my strengths. Now, um, I showed you all the slide of where I walked my staff through the strength-based model. Um, over time, we had quarterly strength-based coaching sessions or workshops, strength-based workshops. One of the strength-based workshops was a team approach where we created this Excel sheet and we listed each team member and we were using the Clifton Strength Finders and we put Byron's top 5 strengths, Rachel's top 5 strengths, Leslie's top 5 strengths, Ed's top 5 strengths. And then we can see each person's strengths and categories. And then if Byron has a top 5 strength, I'm using Clifton here, of maximizer or ideation, and Rachel has a strength of strategy, how can we use these two strengths together to accomplish a team goal? Here's what that also did. It allowed our team members who might have been at odds in opposition with one another because they didn't understand each other's strengths to where if I'm ideation and I have a big idea and then someone shoots my idea down, I'm going to be mad at that person. Well, now I know your strength as someone with a strategic strength. We can work together and you are just thinking through how we can accomplish that. It's not to shoot my ideas down, it's to think through those elements. We're able to see how these strengths work together. Imagine what that looks like, not just for staff in the school, but the entire school community. These strengths can be power when utilized the right way as well. All right, let's keep rolling, Rachel.
Yeah. Very similar to our Missouri Association of School Psychologists, we did that. We did like a word cloud of our collective strengths and said, how can we leverage those as a state association? So even zooming out even broader, I think is a good idea too. But yeah, the collective strength pieces, it was really helpful for us to see like individual and as a board, okay, now how do we align this with our advocacy efforts? It was a cool activity. All right, so these are just some reflection questions. I know we have so many more practices to get into, but if you want to do this work really in depth, take that character strength survey, think about these questions, do that work, and then we can move on to practice number 2, which is knowing and using the strengths. So, Byron, will you explain what this link is going to take everyone to?
Yes, if you scan this QR code, this is going to take you to a prompt. Hopefully, it takes you to it. If not, again, we're going to provide all of these resources to you. When you click that link, it's going to take you to a document named How to Name, Know, and Use Your Strengths. Okay, great. I see some of you all are already in it. Now, here's where we can start pulling in elements of artificial intelligence. I recognize we're all on different journeys with it, but this is a prompt. A prompt is how you communicate with these AI chatbots. And this prompt, once you name your top five strengths, it's only one aspect to name them. Then you must diligently work to know what your strengths are and then use them, deploying them and putting those strengths in action. When I worked with my students, when I worked with my staff, we would work and do deep work that would take days, it would take weeks to analyze and make sense out of stress. Now, with artificial intelligence and this prompt that we provide, you can take that full prompt, copy the whole thing, put your top five strengths in there, feed it through an AI platform like School Psych AI, and it will give you a detailed, comprehensive analysis of your top five strengths. How you can use those strengths in professional settings, in personal settings. It can explain what does zest mean? What does it mean to have a love of learning? How can I use this in a professional setting as well? So that prompt does a really good job of helping you to better understand those strengths.
A question came up, Byron, is if you have the kids fill this out as well, or is this a tool you're primarily using with like adults and staff?
Come on now. Y'all know I got you. Next slide. Come on, wait, come on. It's supposed to be the. Oh, no, that's not it. Wait, it was supposed to flow to, did we pass one? Let me see. Nope, 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 nope. What is practice two? Okay, all right. I think, yeah, practice four. All right, that would have been a great segue. Okay, we build this out in sequential order. It's imperative for you to start with yourself first so that you know your strengths. Can you work with students and others without adequately knowing your strengths? Yes, but I think it will prompt you to default back to deficit thinking if that's the default lens. So I think once you can explore and do some of that strength work with self first, then when you work with students, you can do a more adequate job of helping them to explore their strengths. I provide another resource for you all. It's a, and we don't have to jump around because we're gonna get to it. But it's a document inside of a folder, and it's called How to Create Strength-Based Psychological Evaluations Introduction Statements. I gotta find a better name for it. Stay with me, stay focused. But then you can have your students take the values in action survey, identify their top five strengths, put their top five strengths into this prompt, and then you get this introductory statement about your student and their top five strengths, and then paste into their psychological evaluation. What I am also saying is this. What is important for you all to also know is that the values in action survey has been validated with, I believe, and I don't have the slide, the numbers, but I want to say like eight. I want to say eight. I think they're either going to be releasing where it drops to seven or six, but I think eight all the way through adulthood. It's been heavily validated, y'all. Again, I'm not talking about what I think is right. I'm not talking about what I think feels good or like, hey, let's just go try this thing because it sounds good. No, UPenn has studied this significantly. The Values and Action Survey is a well validated assessment. We got to talk about what works. Y'all with me? So the Values and Action Survey is a well validated strength based assessment measure that has been validated. And Rachel, Leslie, Amy, Daisy, it's free. Come on now. All right, let's keep rolling, Rachel. Where are we? Let's make sure we're hitting all the practices here. Did we skip one? All right, this is where we are.
Uh-huh.
All right. Okay. Now, the next practice is again, we're using artificial intelligence to support the work that we're doing. Okay. Here's another prompt to where now you can utilize this, you can utilize artificial intelligence to help you create personalized strength-based interviews. I used to do this by hand. Okay. Now I can work with a fourth grade student, an eighth grade student, a 12th grade student. I know their interests. I have an idea of their interests. At least I know where they're from, a little bit of background. Then I can feed this prompt where you scan that QR code, or once you get the slides, you click that, and it'll walk you through creating personalized strength-based interviews based on your student. They're from Boston. They love the Red Sox. Baseball is everything for them. You could create strength-based interviews connected to their interests. Come on now. I see a question. Will you be able to share the links with us? Yes, you all are going to get access to everything. Okay. Um, Talitha says, and let me know if I said that name correctly. How long does it take for the students to complete the survey? Here's what's important. The values and action survey, it takes 10 minutes. I work with students with emotional disabilities, with attention difficulties, with learning disabilities. And so I got to a point where I just printed out all the 24, and I provide this as one of the resources, the 24 character strengths. I said, hey, which one sounds like you? Okay. Hey, the key thing here, and this is some of the research, I have to find the article from I think it was Seligman, the late Seligman, who says the key point is to have students to think about these practices and people in general. And so, even thinking about them, even being able to identify them, if you can't do the full assessment. The other piece that I did, while it says it takes 10 minutes, is I would go through and I would read them with my students as well. I would create an account. I had a portal, I would create it for my students, and then I would sit down with them and read through each item. They would respond, and then it gives their top five strengths. I would print it out, and then we will write it in their notebooks throughout the sessions as well. All right, let's keep rolling. Okay, practice number 4. Y'all know, I know why y'all here. Byron, how can we start implementing this into our reports? All right, Rachel, take it away.
All right.
Y'all are going to
There's
start
my
thinking I just don't like writing reports and evaluations at all. That's not the case, y'all. It's not. I just think there's a lot of other things we can be doing. But Rachel, please take this lovely part away.
okay. All right. So before we write a really strength-based report that also highlights where the student needs to work, what goals we need to write, and where we're moving next, we actually have to do strength-based evaluations before we can write it down. It just doesn't happen because we wrote it down. So if you think back to grad school days, the Riot ISO matrix, review, interview, observe, test. Every part of the Riot ISO matrix can be strength-based. So when we're thinking about the first part is those strength-based interviews. We gave you some tools, some different practices. We interview the families, the guardians, the parents, the teachers, the students. And if you're not interviewing students, oh my gosh, that has been, I wish that I started doing that sooner as a practitioner, is including the kids' voice in their evaluation. We write 30 plus pages about somebody, like they better have some input, right? And so being able to utilize all of the components of interviewing well and doing high quality interviews, we want to capture their abilities. What are their interests? What are the assets? What are all across domains, right? Not just the character strengths. That's a huge piece. But what are their strengths in their adaptive skills? What are their strengths in language? What are their strengths cognitively. And so being able to do that across domains and highlighting those skills and what successful experiences they've had, what protective factors does that student have that they can access through their environment or their family or at school. So even just the interview piece, that's something you're already doing. We talked about like, how can I be 1% better in strength-based practices? Start doing this work. You're doing interviews anyway, right? As part of your eval. So making sure that we're highlighting the right pieces and asking the right questions to the right people. There's a ton of things for student interviews. It's amazing. That was one of the first times that I fangirled pretty hard. Was a session that Byron had done at NASP, and he said some of his favorite student interview questions. And I wrote them down and I started implementing them, and it was so powerful. There was one kid that I really incorporated his voice into the eval. We were looking at a learning disability in math, and he told me that he felt seen. And that ever since then, it's like, okay, I have to be doing this with every single eval. Yeah, it takes me a little bit longer, but oh my gosh, that kid feels seen by somebody here at school. So it's powerful. You got to do the work. Even if it's just 1% better, just pick something from today. Student interviewing was amazing, and hearing a student say that to me was the best day ever. Okay, so then moving to observations. We're doing those anyway. We're observing and just getting a narrative, like what's happening in the classroom. We're doing time on task observations, right? So many referrals, at least where I am, is learning disabilities and other health impairment due to ADHD, right? We're doing time on task all the time. How are we writing those up? And are we observing in those structured and unstructured settings? How can we write what we've seen that highlights, yes, what they need to work on, but also what's working well? What helped that student thrive in that snapshot that you captured? Finding positive traits, what's working well, what's strong in that situation and in that observation. And same thing, we're doing these anyway, just shifting that a little bit towards that strength-based is really, really beneficial. And parents and families, and when we have transiency, like the receiving school psychologists, they're reading all of this information. It's an artifact about this kid. And so when a family is reading this observation, I want them to know, based on the words that I used, that I care about their kid. And it's not just the warm fuzzy, this is something cute they said to me during testing anecdotally. But here's what the student thinks they need to work on next. And I've had so many times where students nail it. They know what they need to work on next. I'm really stuck, Miss Tison. I'm really stuck with multiplication once there's too many digits for me to write my tally marks. Kids know where they feel stuck. And so how can we observe that and capture that so we can connect them to the supports that they need? All right, moving to assessment. We do this a lot as school psychologists. The rating scales, the one-to-one assessments that we're doing, informal assessments, curriculum-based measures, we have tons of data all the time, and we're gathering tons of data all the time. But highlighting, even if you're using a tool that is by nature very deficit focused, we can be creative with how we pull strengths out of those assessments. What did the student, what's going well? What did that assessment reveal? How are we engaging the student in their own testing session? We explain testing to the families and the teachers that student sees and who works with them, but we so rarely talk to the kid about the testing results. And there's tons of really great resources out there, but that was something else from a NASP session that I went back and thought, oh my gosh, I got to do this work right now. And that's when we, same kid looking at a learning disability in math, and we went through and I said, okay, here's the things that I saw that your brain does really well. And here's what I saw that we need to work on next. And being able to incorporate them into their eval. And maybe you're not using the words of we're looking at this or this or this, but incorporating like, why are we doing this? I'm Miss Tison. I'm a support person in our building, and I connect kids to what they need. Like they should have some awareness of why they're there. And what students need to be focused on next. That's a piece of that strength-based practice when doing assessment. All right, and then in the report, we're going to get into all the different components of a report. But we have different types. I don't know, drop in the chat what kind of reports you write. Are they assessment specific? Are they comprehensive and integrated? I know where I am. I pull in what the speech and language pathologist sends to me. I pull in what occupational therapists send to me. Some write theme-based or domain-based, it's all very different, but I'm curious what you all do. But how can we write our reports in a strength-based way? So if we've done all the work of strength-based interviewing, observations, assessments, record reviews, all of that, the report should reflect all of that really great work that we just did, all the strength-based practices that we just implemented. And like I said, that's the artifact of that kid. And there is a very real chance that that kid could read what you wrote about them. There's a very real chance that that kid's going to see what you think about them as a person. And so making sure that we capture things truthfully and honestly, this is where they need to work on next. This is a real, this is, a skill that needs to be addressed. But also, what are the great things that make them a whole person, and making sure that that's captured. And really the goal of the report is to make sure that all the adults that are around that kid know how to help them navigate whatever challenges they're facing. So when we're writing our reports, being mindful of how we're capturing all of the great strength-based practices that we just did. And I will pause there because I'm curious what everyone's saying in the chat now.
There's a lot
That's some
going
really
on.
good.
Go ahead, Byron. Sorry.
No, go ahead, Leslie.
Um, a lot of people write in a lot of different types of reports. Places like Ohio and Texas are saying they're writing 30+ page reports. Who is reading your reports? I have so many questions. Yeah. One person said sometimes I end up with reports that are more like books. Some are doing more comprehensive, some are doing multidisciplinary, which is interesting. Some are saying that the multidisciplinary is a nice single well-rounded report, and others are saying their systems make them kind of disjointed. So that's kind of interesting, and I've seen that as well. I've seen some, and it has to do with the online system that you're using and what you have to input into. Oftentimes, I've noticed in the different states I've worked, and some of them do a really nice job synthesizing that data and putting the multidisciplinary together, and some do not. Yeah. No one reads all of it, but you're right. You write it in case you're going to hearing. Yeah. Um, People are saying, Katie in Texas, I like this multidisciplinary evals. Mine used to be way longer, but I moved to strengths based, and Sophia has helped me with this so much. Yeah. So there's a lot of the being a cog in the wheel of the online systems we have to use too, unfortunately, and making the reports fit into those systems. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you, Leslie. Rachel, anything else before we keep rolling?
No, because I want to get to the rest of these, and I know we've got some stuff at the end too. So I'll pass that back to you.
All right. Very good. And Rachel, I'm gonna take over because I do want to show this super, super quick, if that's okay. And so let's see if I click that button. All right, perfect. So hopefully you all got to scan that QR code. If not, we are going to bring it back up. But that QR code is going to take you to this document. And this document will walk you through how to create strength-based psych eval, an introduction statement. Now, in some of my reports, I would take a statement and then it would be just like a paragraph based on how my students did on the VIA survey. I would take the top 5 strengths and create a strength-based impact statement that goes at the top of the evaluation. Beautiful. And now I'm starting every IEP meeting, our review of test meetings with those statements in place. This prompt now with artificial intelligence allows you to do what I had to manually do by hand. And I'm so mad at that, but hey, it's all good. I'm here to help now. Um, all you do is copy that prompt and then put it into ideally School Psych AI Sophia, or you could use it any LLM. Now, Rachel, I switched to our platform. Can you see that when I switched? Okay. I just copied that entire prompt, and we're going to run it super, super quick. All right. And essentially, what we're doing in this prompt I'm telling Sophia, hey, you have a ton of expertise on strength-based practices. I give it a task and say provide a deeply, expertly crafted narrative interpretation based on this student's top five strengths. I just fill out those student details, replace with your student details. This is a template, so modify however you like, however you deem fit. It's just a template. So if you want to take something out, take it out. If you want to add it. And then I get some output requirements. I also say, hey, I need you to list the top five strengths of the student inside of a table. And then it lists it inside of a table format. All right, Ed, let me know if Ed is on the call. Of course, I knew it. I feel like I jinxed it. Let's see. I'm gonna hit refresh. Let's see. I don't know if I froze up on my end. Let's see. I don't know if I froze up, but okay, what happens? Let's see if we can run that one more time, run that through. And then what should happen, Sophia is going to give us a statement that includes the student's top five strengths inside of a table. And it breaks it down. One of the things inside this prompt, we're telling Sophia in this table, give the strength name and a description using natural human language. So explain it super, super clear. I even go as far as to say the description should be written at a fifth grade level. I'm really big on telling Sophia to use very clear language. And then I tell Sophia to write this in a narrative paragraph format. I tell Sophia to make sure it connects to the reason for referral. This, I don't know, of course, during the PD, this is going to happen. All right. I'm just going to stop sharing my screen. But then I think maybe it's my internet connection or something. I don't know. But it will return an output that you could then take that statement and put inside of your evaluation. So when Sophia isn't stressed and at 4:30 here in Texas on a Friday, Sophia will work when she wants to. Rachel, I'll throw it back to you.
All right. All right, so practice number 5, using strength-based tools with students. So we kind of touched on this already, but this is the free option and then the Clifton strengths. And if you know any of your Clifton top 5, you could drop that in the chat too. But I'm going to move us along so we can get to some other things too. All right, practice number 6 is those reflective questions. So once you have all of that data, thinking through some of these questions. I'm going to let you guys read through this, but being able to reflect so that we can better understand our strengths is the name of the game here. All right.
Yeah.
Practice number 7, using strength-based interventions. So very similar to how Byron started out this PD with all of his energy saying, we have to do the work. So being able to actually be action-oriented, right? So this first one is called the three good things. And there's a guide that's linked here. End of day, during dinner, before bed, you pick a time where you can weave this into your practice. I'm going to click on this and see if it pulls up. If it doesn't, will someone let me know? Do you see when I pull this up? Or is it still on the side? Okay. So this is 3 good things, a gratitude practice. And so it takes you to the resource that you need on the slide. And if anyone's used this before, let us know and in the chat. But yeah, it's a really easy practice to implement, and the 3 good things, it's a great exercise. Something you can implement right away. All right, practice number 8, that's strength-based report writing. We kind of hit on the components of the data gathering, but this is going to break down the reason for referral. Okay, so thinking about how we write up the reason for referral, this is just an example of maybe what a teacher might hand over, he's disruptive in class, fails to complete tasks, and then an example of kind of how we can shift that to a more strength-based lens, that reason for referral section. And then another example for the background section. making sure that we're highlighting the student's background, areas of interest, and balancing the activities here with the academic demands that are challenging. This is going to be the collaborative learning setting is going to be best for the student. So highlighting both the strengths piece and the things that may be difficult for that student. And then in the test results, here's another example, just so you can get a feel for kind of what the output would look like. So this first one, his test results show below average reading scores, which require additional interventions to improve literacy skills despite high performance in math. And it shifts to excels in mathematical problem solving as shown in the test results. He finds reading comprehension tasks more challenging. When I read that, it sounds like we actually talked to the kid, right? Suggesting a need for targeted support in this area alongside opportunities to excel in math. So how are we leveraging strengths that exist and also supporting challenges? All right, recommendations. This is my favorite part to integrate Sophia and to pull in like, okay, here's a bunch of strengths. How can we leverage these? That was one of my favorite prompts when I really started dabbling. How can I leverage all of these strengths in my evidence-based intervention recommendations? And Sophia does a really good job of that. So kind of starting with maybe something really simple would benefit from pulling in science to other content areas. And then this is way more robust, super helpful, and you can utilize Sophia for this. But curiosity about science drives the enthusiasm and participation in class. To help them stay engaged, we could integrate science topics like English or history, might read about scientific discoveries. We can also use this. So capitalizing on the students' interests in those recommendations and making them personalized to that student. All right, practice number 9, using strength-based resources. I'm going to have Byron explain what this will take you all to, but there's a QR code here, and like we said before, the link will be in the slides too.
All right. Look, I want to share my screen again, but look, I don't want to break anything else for today.
Sure.
But I am going to share my screen.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you scan that QR code or click that link, it's going to take you to a bunch of resources. And what I try to do whenever I'm presenting, I want to make sure that I'm giving people actual resources that you all can take back and begin using tomorrow. I know during these sessions, we cover a lot of information in a really short and condensed amount of time. So I want to make sure that you all can actually take your time, breathe, go through the resources, try it, see what works, see what you like, and then keep learning along the way. And so this is just a resource where you can go through. I break it down by assessment tools. As an example, the VIA is the very first one. It's hyperlink. So when you click that hyperlink, it's going to take you directly to it. I have some other resources that I've created along the way. This deficit thinking self-assessment is really good because it helps you to understand how deficit thinking shows up in your thinking and your practice that you otherwise might not necessarily think about. And then I'm not going to go through all of these tools, but it's really good resources to help you deepen your understanding of these practices, how they show up in your personal life and your professional life as well. The next one are some of these strength-based interventions. Rachel just went through 3 good things. That is one of my favorite interventions. And so, elementary, middle school, high school, my staff, we always do 3 good things as an intervention. Seligman and his team, they wanted to study how to increase happiness and decrease depression. And this was one of the first, it was the first study that they actually researched and studied. And what they found is that people who simply can identify 3 good things that happen to them, and importantly, why those good things happen to them, it increased rates of happiness and decreased instances of depression, which was really important. And then I give some other interventions, different activities. This one is really good. It's spotting strengths in real time. which I like is a really good one because it helps you to start thinking, how can I spot strengths with students, with my coworkers, with others in real time, in real settings? So that was really good too. The next category is supports and best practices. Again, more resources for you to go through. I'm starting to write different articles on Substack. I've never been a strong writer, but this allows me to get my thinking out and on paper. And it deepens things that I want to say during PDs and sessions, but I might not always be able to get to. And I also recognize like I go through things quickly, and I want to make sure that I have a dedicated place where things live and I can flesh these topics out a little bit more deeply as well. I hope to release an article coming up soon just about the basics of strength-based thinking and deficit thinking. The next section goes through, someone talked about resources for strength-based interviews. If you click this, this takes you to how to create those student strength-based interviews. Then the other prompts we walk through how to name, know, and use your strength. It gives you those prompts. And then how to create strength-based psych evals. It gives you that prompt as well. This is a living document. And so I'll be adding strength-based resources to this as frequently and as often as I can. I just got this started. I think it's great. So I invite you all to use that as well. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Rachel, if you could bring back up the other screen, please.
Yes, and you got a request to drop that link in the Zoom chat.
Okay. And once you bring that back up, we're going to share the slides with everyone, right, Rachel?
Yes, everyone will
Oh,
get access
I
to all
think
the
someone
things.
dropped it. Cool. Thank you, Lisa, for sharing that as well. Yeah, and we'll share the materials and everything so you all will get access there as well. All right. Next slide, Rachel. Yeah, I think I mentioned, yes, because I said that the late Dr. Chris Peterson. Essentially, and this kind of captures the quote, this captures the essence of what we're talking about, that we just have to be as interested in building the best things in life as in repairing the worst. I often say we can shift from what's wrong to what's strong. And I think that these practices, we gave you all a ton of them today. Pick one, take that and it's called a practice for a reason. We have to practice it deliberately, explicitly, get better and better at it over time. Rachel?
All right. That kind of, we're getting close to the end of our time. So I want to make sure that we can get to the giveaways too for everyone who's participated in the chat. So this is just a slide that shows all of the different professional development offerings. So you're here with Shift to What's Strong, but coming up, we do have three more and more in the works too. This is just what we have posted right now. But that QR code will take you to the professional development homepage where you can see the session descriptions, the learning objectives, kind of what to expect with each of those sessions. And we already have quite a few registered, even for the one in November. And I know everybody's ready for the ethics topic. So if you need those CPDs for an NCSP renewal, that would be a great opportunity to get those. And all registration for these are open. And as we release more topics, we'll have those available on the same website. So if you scan this QR code and pin it or bookmark it, you'll always be in the know about all the School Psych AI PD happenings. All right. We also have a feedback form. We want to make sure we're providing the most meaningful, relevant, practical, professional learning for you all. So this feedback form is super helpful if you're able to scan that and complete it. Again, you'll have access to this in the slides when it's sent to you as well. So if you aren't able to pull it up on another device right now, no worries, you'll have access to it. All right.
Real quick, we had a question. Will the next session be specific to SPAI or will it be more general? So that's going to be that from curiosity to confidence AI foundation. So
Byron, do you want to
Yeah,
take that one?
Yes, what we're finding is that people's first introduction to artificial intelligence is either ChatGPT or School Psych AI. And so for this one, because it's from curiosity to confidence, we have to talk about what else is out there.
Mhm.
And yes, we have a platform, School Psych AI. And so as we walk through prompts, we will explicitly say, you can use other models. We are going to demonstrate School Psych AI and this model. It's specific for our practice, how we work, how we show up. And so we will be using that as a foundation. Importantly, the last PD that's on the screen is ethics and responsible AI use. We are a FERPA compliant platform. Here's what's important. We are a fully independently evaluated FERPA compliant platform, not because Byron McClure says so, but because the experts have reviewed our tech stack and say we are FERPA compliant. What that means is if you're using some other platform and it's not FERPA compliant, you can be liable. We all have an ethical responsibility to ensure the highest data privacy uh, standards are being applied in our day-to-day work. So we will use our platform for those reasons, and also we will share some tips and tricks. And Rachel, I might share my top five AI platforms that I'm using, and I have some good ones.
You're always finding the latest and the coolest stuff. So I'm interested to hear what your top five are these days. Because it moves so quick.
Yeah.
It changes all the time.
There was a question about the CPDs. From my understanding, once we collect those feedback forms, then we will send out like a CPD, like the 1.5 credits. Is that correct, Byron?
I was taking a sip of water. Yes, Rachel, Leslie, and I are going to talk after this to make sure that we all get that too. But I believe you fill out the feedback form and then we send that to you. So make sure
That
you
will
fill out that
connect it.
feedback
Yeah.
form and then we'll get you that as well. Yes.
Okay.
And they asked, does that mean we can enter student names? And yes, generally that does mean yes, you can enter student names, score report PDFs that actually have the kids' demographic data, etc. Somebody asked for the link for the feedback form again, but it is do the feedback form as a link. Do we have
Yeah.
it as a link?
Can you go
That's
back
the
to that slide,
question.
Rachel?
Yeah,
Yeah. I'll grab the link for that too. But
thank you.
Yeah.
yeah.
And we'll
We'll
paste
drop.
that link inside the chat.
Yeah, I just want to make sure everybody had that again to be able to get their CPDs. And then there was a question about if there were any book recommendations. I suggested Hacking Deficit Thinking, which is Byron's book with Kelsey Reed. I suggest that for all educators, just to shifting that mindset for how we even look at and treat children. But do you have any others,
Yes. And I
Rachel?
have some. I do. Okay. Yo, I'm a nerd on the low. Y'all might think I'm just out here talking a lot, but it's I promise it's coming from a place. And my blur is on. So y'all might not be able to see this, but Character Strengths Interventions by Dr. Nemec, a field guide for practitioners. This one is a really, really good resource. And so I don't get paid from any of these. This is a really good one. Um, Character Strengths Interventions. Really, really good resource. Another resource, and I just bought these. Shout out to Dr. Akins, Meaningful Classroom Management. Not, I mean, it's kind of class. That's a good one. Won't go through that one. And then Dr. Charles Barrett. Shout out to y'all know Charles, right? It's always about the children. Volume 2 is out. So those are all really good resources, and I don't want to self promote myself, but I
I already
will be
promoted you, but
released.
Byron has another book he just wrote. I was about to get there, yeah. So can you tell us about your new
Yeah,
book?
yeah,
I think it's pretty cool.
yeah, yeah. It's moving to practice, and the title is "Shift Towards Strong," and we'll be given more explicit practice to make this work habitual. So our default will be replaced from deficit thinking to strength-based thinking, and life be life. And as I said in the email, we'll default back to strengths instead of deficit ideology, and I go through that as well. Oh, Jennifer is saying the feedback form did not ask for my name or email. I thought we set that form up, Rachel, so that it does ask for email. Yeah, Lisa
Checking on that
says
right
it
now.
automatically collects at the top of the form. Yeah, it
It should
automatically
have, yeah, your
apply at the
email should
top.
be mandatory at the very top.
Okay. Someone says you have to sign into your Google account. And for those who might not have a Google account, and if you've already filled out the form, please send an email to if y'all send it to me, and I'll make sure it gets in the hands of the right people. If you've already filled out the form and didn't get a chance to put your contact information, I'm hoping it's not that many people, but there we go. Byron at School Psych AI. Yeah, for that feedback form, that's okay, Sarah. That's okay.
I more care that y'all get your CPDs, so yeah. And then I
Yes,
think
thank
we're
you,
at
Leslie.
time if it's giveaway time.
Yeah. Byron, do you want to do the close your eyes and point to the chat? Hopefully you've been participating in our chat so that you have some good chances of winning.
I'm scrolling and it's spinning. Nora Sugai. Let me know if I said that correct. Nora Sugai. And you
Sugai.
have to be
You
here.
don't know Dr. George Sugai?
I'm not related to
That's
George.
for yeah, yeah.
I was like, I
Okay.
feel like you would know George Sugai, Byron.
I
I don't
wish
know.
I was related to George, but I'm not
Yes.
related to George.
I see the name. I didn't know how to
You
it's one
said
of
it
those
pretty
names that you
well,
always
Byron. You said it
He'll
pretty
still
well.
come out of retirement in Hawaii once in a while. I got to do a training with him probably 7, 8 years ago in his retirement. So
What a dream.
awesome.
That
Well,
sounds
no
amazing. Well, thank you.
connection, but you're connected with this gift card. Congrats. And
Thank you.
then
I
we'll
never
go
win
to the
anything.
next one. Hey, I saw your name earlier and I felt like I brought that energy to make sure that you win. You won something with us. You're a winner in my book. All right. Okay, next one. This landed on Sarah Lutz. Let me know if I said that last name correctly. Sarah Lutz. Sarah, are you in the building? Sarah going once,
it
going
shows her
twice.
still in there, but I'm not sure. Yeah. Where are you, Sarah? It still shows her as being logged in.
Okay, yep, must respond and win. I'll do one more, and if Sarah doesn't claim it in that time, we'll go to the next one. All right, let's do another one. Heather Peck.
That's me. I'm here.
All right, congratulations, Heather. And can you all send Rachel, did you already tell them send emails?
No, but yes, and I'm also writing the names down so I can just get that to you, Byron. So they don't have to do anything.
Oh, wow. Very cool, very cool. Nice, Nora, I see. Yeah, that's awesome. And congratulations, Nora. Let me know she defended her dissertation. So very good. Congratulations. All right. And then last, well,
I
did
PM'd
Sarah
Sarah
ever
and she
respond?
no, I tried to PM her because I thought, well, if she can't unmute, which happens sometimes, maybe she can chat, but I didn't hear back, so
All right.
you might want to move
Moving on so I can get you out of here on a Friday. The next one that we have, this says, oh, that's right in between. Oh man.
Oh
Okay. Hey,
no.
we'll
Gotta
we'll
do it again.
we'll no, listen, we'll do both. Jennifer T and Lisa Villemine.
That's me. Thanks.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
All right. Congrats, y'all.
Thank you.
All right.
So Rachel, that should be four, right?
That's what I have. All
All
right.
right.
Yeah, I'll use the email that you used to register for this. So that's where you'll get it. If you want it to land in a different email, just let Byron or myself know.
Right. Otherwise, thank you all, everyone, for attending. Reach out to us. Here's our contact information. Special thanks to Rachel for all your work, getting everything together. Thank you, Leslie, as well for your work and efforts here. Thank you, everyone who took time out of your busy schedules to be here with us today. Make sure that you register for our next sessions and follow us School Psych AI across all social media platforms to stay connected as well. And I see Jennifer T bringing the babies in the picture. Shout out to the babies. All right, y'all.